You're listening to The Beat Live. This is talk radio on the internet. Thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Okay, everybody, how you doing today? We're back with The Beat Live. Our guest today is attorney RoyMiller. He's going to talk about a few things, and we're going to get this thing started by saying, how you doing today, Mr. Miller?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Good. Glad to have you on board again.
Good to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we want to get this thing started. We're going to ask you a couple of questions, and the first question I wanted to know, is there anything in particular as being an attorney that you're, how should I say it, interested or intrigued about our school systems?
Yeah, I always look for, all children being treated equal. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter about race. Mm-hmm. One interest I have, and I voiced it quite often, is the disparity between public school and private school, mm-hmm. where in public school, students are open to things like alternative school and going mm-hmm. downtown to juvenile court. Mm-hmm. In private schools, typically they have their in-house ways of dealing with problems.
Right.
And this is a different, depending on what school you go to mm-hmm. and graduate from, would probably say if you got a clean record as far as competing when you graduate, mm-hmm. or you have things following you.
Right.
Trying to get into college, trying to get into the military, mm-hmm. trying to even transfer to another school.
Right.
So it's unfortunate that you're somewhat penalized and open to stuff like zero tolerance simply because you're in a public school. And if private schools, if the water in their wells are so sweet and heal all problems, mm-hmm. then all students need to be able to drink from that well.
Right. Absolutely right. You're correct. So tell us what you think or the right direction you think we should go as far as dealing with that in our school system.
Well, I think we got to start early on. When you find yourself lost, you retrace your steps back to the point most familiar. Mm-hmm. For that, it was right at the end of segregation for us, because mm-hmm. we had no significant discipline problems from our kids
right
before integration.
Right.
Now, I'm for integration. That's a good thing, but it was a double-edged sword because we lost some things, mm-hmm. and one of those things we lost was respect. Mm-hmm. And you have to start early on, spoon feeding the kid to be a good kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one thing that we had that existed all the way up until integration was devotion and prayer.
Right.
Now, whether you are religious or not, if I told you that if you drink this portion, it'll get rid of your cold, you wouldn't care what it was or who made it. Mm-hmm. But the reality is it got rid of your cold. You may not can figure it out. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing with prayer in school. Mm-hmm. For whatever the reason, when there was devotion and prayer, it put young people with a mentality early on mm-hmm. In their mind away from hate. Mm-hmm. Away from violence, away from doing something dirty, mm-hmm. and that's what life is all about, mm-hmm. creating reasons to keep bad thoughts off of a person's mind. So when we lost prayer in school, it hurt the black kids more than any.
Yeah, and I also think that the parents, when they took away the rights to punish their child at home, and, with the government, the law getting involved, if you whoop your child, they call the police and have the parent locked up. I think that had a lot to do with the way the discipline of our children has gone throughout the years, because those kids, they can do what they want. If my mama or my daddy whoop me, I'm going to call the police and have them locked up. Then that's how our parents got afraid to discipline our children correctly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Ordinary people sit down and made rules. Mm-hmm. God didn't give them any rules, or they didn't give them a tablet like he gave Moses.
Right.
Ordinary people sit down and put their knuckleheads together and came up with a plan to say, this is what's good for black kids. Now, you know, I've studied social psychology, sociology, and such. All the learnings were not done in tests for black kids.
Right, right.
Yet and still, rules that were not are based on tests that were not done for black kids with best interests are being used. I don't like that because, you see, it's a distinct difference. When you discipline, as in the Bible, it is always connected with love.
Right.
Child abuse is not connected with love. So that's the difference.
Right.
That's the reason when we were growing up, mama or grandmama could give us a lick and we loved them. We loved their neck within the hour.
Right, absolutely.
That's the reason that we loved our teachers and our principals.
Right, absolutely.
Because love is always connected to discipline.
Right.
But child abuse has no love connected to it. When somebody's just... So we did not recognize that, and we threw out discipline when we were trying to protect from child abuse.
Right.
But...
they got it wrong.
They got it wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you don't discipline your child at home, there's no discipline. Okay, the parent may be working when that child get off out of school, and the daddy might be working, or that might be a single parent. Okay, if you can't discipline your child when he's done something that's despicable or wrong or dirty or whatever the case may be, then that child has that mentality, oh, if my mama whooped me or put her hands on me, I'm going to call DFACS and all that stuff.
You know, but that only applies to public schools, basically. Private schools still discipline. They still do the same thing that was done before integration. They have less problems.
Right.
It's only public schools that are veiled to those things, and it's so unfortunate.
It is, and you can look at the the generation of children that's been out of school for 5-6 years maybe. How they are. Some of them are in the streets and gangs and different things and locked up in jail, and all that stuff stems because they didn't get, okay, look at us. Our parents whooped us. Yeah. They disciplined us.
But we loved our parents too.
Yes, we loved them.
We loved them, and we would walk on a tightrope for them.
Exactly.
We loved them because we knew that they loved us.
There's no respect for our these children have no respect for their parents.
Well, discipline still exists in everything but allowing us to raise our kids. If you get on a football team, you're going to be disciplined. You want a disciplined team. A dance team, we want a disciplined team. Discipline is recognized and has a place in putting order in everything except public school children. And there you have the problem.
Okay.
When you take discipline out and you take God out, you're like a policeman without a gun. Yeah. A policeman without a switch.
Yeah. You're inviting
just words.
Destruction.
And even parents knew that some kids you could shake the switch at and they'll straighten up. They'll straighten up. Yeah. Some of them you had to use that switch sometimes. But a parent knew their child.
Exactly.
And by now we should recognize that we have more than 1 million black men in the prison system. And we look before 1970, 70% of the people in prison were not black. Right. Only 30%. Right. So we had a big turnaround since integration. Yes, absolutely. And so many people go with the game. Yeah. That makes no sense. We know what worked.
Control and guide him into the right directions to make his business grow like yours has grown. And that's how they do it, these convenience stores and filling stations and gas stations and all these stores like these beauty supply places. They make plenty of money, but they always got somebody in their family coming up to take over to help them get started in another business or another store.
You know, being in law for so long, and especially having worked with the Governor's Office of Consumer Affairs and dealt with just about every federal and state agency you can think of. And I spoke with so much problem solution. One thing that I saw consistent was people come from other countries, and if they don't know anything else, they learn the rules.
Yes. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? They may not speak the language well, but they learn they learn the rules.
Yes.
And so many laws are made based on you have to meet a certain criteria. I give you, for instance, if it was if you did not want to get, say, people that are not in unity, and say communities that do not practice unity, if you didn't want them in the Super Bowl and you say, hey, tickets are free to everybody to come in the Super Bowl, but they have to come in unified groups of 150 people, then you wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get in the Super Bowl if you can't have enough unity. But you see the Super Bowl full, but simply because you could not practice unity.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for your, interpretation of all these questions and the answers you gave us. I think that may enlighten a lot of people. We're going to say hello to somebody out there that you might be watching this, or give them your phone number if you want to call you if they have any problems.
My mom, my heart is still on my mom, who I lost, back on November the 28th. So, Mom, if you can see me from heaven, I want to say hello and I love you. Wow. People can reach me, Attorney RoyMiller, at 478-745-2402.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of The Beat Live right here in Macon, Georgia. Thank you for listening.
All right.